Yo, what's good? What's good? It's your man, 100 Grand Ross with The Rock Never Stops. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the Western Conference. I rarely ever get a chance to talk about the Western Conference. And today I was like, hey, what the hell? What the hell? I do this channel because I love talking hoops. I love talking NBA basketball. And sometimes it's easy to get embedded in kind of like the same kind of narratives and discussions. We follow the Pistons here, that's for sure. We're all definitely excited about the season that they're about to have. All the breakout candidates, people stepping up to the next level of their game. It's going to be exciting basketball. And at the same time, there's also other stuff to talk about. And so I want to dive into some of that today in the Western Conference because I think, honestly, it's about to be crazy in the Western Conference. And I want to talk about it. So here I go. But before I do, appreciate it. Smash the like button for me. Hit subscribe and the bell for notifications. It's a little thing, but it's a big thing. Really helps out with the channel. And it definitely lets the YouTube algorithm know that you enjoy these interactive lives. So you're able to get on with me, ask questions, talk your shit, challenge me on things. And we can go back and forth for the 45 minutes to an hour that I be on here. With all that said, let's get into it. Sometimes it feels like all the smart front offices are in the Western Conference. I don't know what that is. Sometimes it seems like all the best players just want to go to the Western Conference. I'm not quite sure what that is either. But for some reason, the Western Conference always seems to appear stacked. It probably hasn't been this lopsided since, man, I'd probably have to say shortly after the Jordan era, right? Where it's just like, it just flipped. And it was just like there were just no real heavily favored contenders coming out of the East. Um, and when you look at the top of the Western Conference, and I'm going to get through most of the Western Conference today because I think there's a lot of teams to really talk about that are just really interesting, and seeing the moves that they're making. But when you look at the top of the Western Conference, it's like it's for real bananas. It's like head and shoulders above anyone else in the Eastern Conference. Um, Definitely favored to win an NBA championship. Though I would say this, despite as overwhelmingly favored the Oklahoma City Thunder were, how much they were blowing teams out the water, they got pushed to game seven, which tells you that no matter how good a team is in a 7 game series, if you have a good enough coach, buy in, health, luck, you can have a chance to win a championship. You can have a chance to win a championship. Whether it was Milwaukee beating Phoenix, right? Whether it was Boston, right, beating who did they beat in the finals? Oh, the Dallas Mavericks with Kyrie and Luca, right? Like if you got your shit together and you get to the finals, it's anybody's series. Every game is individual. There's no necessarily huge carryover unless there's like a previous injury or something. Uh, all this to say is you got a shot. So no matter how good the West seems, if you come out of the East, you got almost a 50-50 shot, or at least 52-48 type of deal. But let's get into it. While I do this chat, definitely, if there's a team in the West you want me to talk about and cover, throw it in the chat for me, and we could chop it up about that team as well. But the first team that comes to mind for me, which has been the probably the most interesting team for me to talk about. Let me pull up. Let me see. Uh, NBA transactions tracker. See if it pulls it up for me. I think this is it. Yep. All right. Cool. Got it. The team that's probably been the most interesting has been the New Orleans Pelicans. Look, I've been down on them as I am most teams that just can't seem to get their shit together, especially when they build their team around a superstar talent who doesn't have superstar maturity and leadership. It reminds me of DeMarcus Cousins in Sacramento. Um, you kind of hang your franchise on a player who doesn't necessarily want that responsibility, isn't necessarily built like that to say, "Hey, I want to lead a team to a championship." Really, just out here to hoop and have fun. Uh, And that's kind of where this team has been stuck. They've blamed coaches, they blamed everyone else, even the front office, but really it's just it was faulty at its foundation. But something that I've been really noticing that Joe Dumars and Troy Weaver have been doing since arriving in New Orleans is infusing them with fresh energy. And for me, this cannot be undervalued or discounted in how important this is. When you infuse your organization with fresh energy, when I say fresh energy, I mean guys who love to compete, but also have this level of swag to them, like this, their own aura that can kind of pull other people into it. Derek Queen and what's his name? Shucks, I forgot his name. The guard that they drafted. Derek Queen and pulling it up right here because I like to keep info at my fingertips. Derek Queen and what's his name? Let me know in the chat. Here we go. It's pulling up. Uh, uh it's a different year. Sears. What's his name? What's his name? I can't believe I forgot his name. Try this way. New Orleans. Jeremiah Fears. Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen, outside of maybe Trey Johnson, have probably some of the biggest personalities of this rookie class that also has the talent to match. And when you have talent and a personality, when you have that type of aura, you have the ability to pull a team around you. And the reason why this is so important is because you recognize also what happens when you have talent, but they don't have that aura, right? Like Brandon Ingram did not have the aura to pull the team around him in the way that Zion Williamson was able to. Zion Williamson walks on the court and everybody on his team goes, that's the guy. Brandon Ingram is just really good. And people look at him and they go like, oh, okay. But not necessarily I'm focused on how do I play off of you and around you. And even his style of play is kind of passive. All that's to say is bring in Fears and Queen, brought in two personalities that, if I'm honest, I think are a perfect fit because they don't really care about Zion. I'll say that again. Neither of those talents came in going, I can't wait to play with Zion Williamson. They're here to hoop. They're here to ball. They're here to prove to themselves and everyone else that they're every bit as good and as talented as they believe that they are. And their talent, their accolades, their production, their work ethic says they're right up there. Now, we all know Zion Williamson is kind of a superstar level talent, and those guys few and far between. They're generational, and I don't think that Fears or Queen are generational talents, but can they be all-star level talents? I completely think so. Bring in those two talented young players, I think is giving this team a visual of what a future beyond Zion can look like. And if anything could facilitate a smooth transition. I am of the ilk that this organization is ready to move on from Zion. That's what I believe. I believe that they are 100% ready to move on from Zion. Uh, and they're only in need of a good enough season to do it. As soon as they can bring up his value again and get maximum value back in return for him, he's out. He's out. Look, even if he has a great second act to his career, third act to his career, it's not going to be in New Orleans. I think he's somewhat worn out his welcome. He has missed that kind of window to step in to be a franchise star. I think they're ready to move on from him. But I love the other players that they've brought in around him. Yo, what's good, Sandro? What's good, man? What's going on? I love the Jordan Poole acquisition. He's another personality type. He's someone who fans will also enjoy coming to see. Yo, we talking about the Western Conference, man. I rarely get a chance to talk about the Western Conference. So today we're chopping it up about the West because I think that the West is just crazy stacked right now. And I'm kind of jumping around, but you can let me know in the comment section uh, who you want me to talk about in the Western Conference. Um, right now, we're talking about the Pelicans, the New Orleans Pelicans. The New Orleans have. I mean, New Orleans has got great food, and it's the South. They just cook them up different down there. So I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. Uh, yeah, Southern women, you know, love it. All I have to say is New Orleans. I think they're headed in a dope direction, great direction. They're infusing this organization with energy, with young, fresh energy that's not centered around Zion anymore. So he's not this focal point of up and down for this organization. Um, yeah, yeah. Jordan Poole and Zion are going to be fun as hell to watch. They're going to be fun as hell to watch. And with Eves Misi as well, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, that starting five is going to be fun. It's going to be competitive. It's going to have firepower. It's going to be dynamic in its own way. Uh, but I think that where they're transitioning as an organization, I think is very clear. Their starting center is Eves Misi right now. Even though they brought in Derek Queen, Kayvon Looney, I think it's pretty clear that it's Eves Misi, who actually looked like he took some steps forward in his development in summer league. It didn't look amazing, but you could tell not only had he been working on his post footwork, his finishing with either hand, creating his own shot, things of that nature. He also, yeah, he had a nasty dunk on Zach. He did. I'm actually going to talk about Memphis too, because I kind of like what they've been doing as well. Um, I think that Eves Misi is ready to take that next step to be a legitimate starting NBA center where he has a little bit more pop offensively. He can finish some of the plays that he was kind of hesitant on and seemed to struggle with. I think he ends up being something of a younger Clint Capella back in Houston. So I think that that's a great acquisition for them. But I think the New Orleans Pelicans are headed in a strong direction. I like the Brandon Boston Jr. I think did they re-sign him? It shows him still under contract for next year. But I like Makovich. I think he has a pretty good outlook in terms of a long-term reserve big man. Um, definitely like Jose Alvarado. I think he's just a dog. He's a guy that just brings so much energy to your team. And then I also like Jordan Hawkins. I think he's going to figure it out. I think he's going to figure it out. Probably starting at the well, not starting backup shooting guard next to Jose Alvarado. Jeremiah Fears is going to have to work to get into the rotation. Um, Sadiq Bey, shout out from the Pistons. I think that he's going to have a good year as a shooter, as a stretch forward wing, probably play that 3-4 position. Um, and I think that he's going to be in that rotation because he's going to help them win. And I think that this team is going to be focused on winning. Look, they gave up a draft pick. They have no incentive to lose at all. And so I always appreciate organizations who take those clear steps to say we are trying to win. We're not trying to tank. We're not trying to push out our competitiveness for another season or two. We're trying to win right now, despite next year's draft being even better than this one, probably 2 to 3 times as good as this one. Um, I don't mind the move because I think Derek Queen is going to be a beast and Jeremiah Fear. So all in all, I give their offseason probably a B plus, depending upon how Fears and Queen pan out. But I think that this is a team to keep an eye on. And I'll say this: they're definitely on my all league pass list. Like teams that I'm gonna want to see late at night. I'm chilling. I want to catch a game. I look at a score. It looked like it was close. I'm gonna check out the New Orleans Pelicans because I think Jordan Poole matured a bit in Washington, learned how to lead, learned how to be at the front, and I think that coming in alongside Zion, Trey, Herb, he's going to have veterans once again who can play around him, who can help insulate him defensively, and also get out and run and have fun out there playing. I think he's going to have fun again. I'm not saying he didn't have fun in Washington, but I would say it's never fun to lose that much. Taking L's every day really made him a man. Yeah, I think so too. I think it did. I think it did. Um, if Zion is not there for any reason, really have a chance of doing anything. You know what? I do think Derek Queen, even though damn it, he got bit by the injury bug already. I do think that Derek Queen is going to be able to take Zion's place eventually. I think he's a Zach Randolph, Zebo level offensive talent. That Alperen Şengün type of big man who can play that forward position, who can shoot it, pass it, finish, create his own shot consistently. Derek Queen is built as a volume scorer. He's built as a volume scorer. So is Jeremiah Fears. So is Jordan Poole. Right? So more and more this team is being structured as a team that's less and less dependent upon Zion. So I think they're going to have more of an ability to buoy themselves, even if he can't play. All that's to say, give them a B. I think they're going to be exciting to watch next year, even if it doesn't mean, you know, deep playoff run. I think if they're healthy in the playoffs, they're as scary as just about any team outside of that top four of Denver, OKC, Minnesota, and Houston. Outside of that four. And if I'm honest, even outside of that four, you still got the Lakers and the Clippers. And I'm going to talk about both of them as well because they had really strong off seasons as well. And then you got Memphis. So you're already down to seven that you're kind of almost penciling in. And if Jimmy Butler gives the Golden State Warriors 65 games, you know, topic for now, but the Clippers would have been a nasty team like five. I think they're going to be nasty next year, bro. I'm actually going to dive into that. But it's to say, I think that the West is already solidified in terms of its playoff. Um, yeah, in terms of the playoffs, I think that they're already solidified. There may be one or two teams that sneak in there that surprise uh, other people. New Orleans could surprise. All right, I don't see Portland surprising anyone. I think that they're talented. They're going to be exciting. I think they're going to sneak in. Maybe the play in. I think that's what really most of these teams are playing for to get into the play in. And when I say most teams, I mean like New Orleans, Sacramento, San Antonio, Portland. I don't think Phoenix is anywhere near. Um, Dallas. I think Dallas gets into the playoffs. I think that rounds out the eight, especially when Kyrie comes back, if he comes back by the playoffs. But I think D'Angelo Russell is definitely itching to prove that he can lead a team to the playoffs again. And I think with Anthony Davis there and Cooper Flag and PJ Watt, like they're just gonna have a lot of ability to make moves. So I think Dallas gets in there too. I think that eight is pretty much penciled in. And so the other teams are fighting for those last two play-in spots, hopefully for a chance to upset. Maybe someone at the top has a down injury plagued year, right? And it frees up another spot. So we'll see. We'll see. The next team I want to talk about is the Memphis Grizzlies. I am a Zach Edey fan. I love seeing big men who stay in college longer to develop. I think that that allows them to refine their skills and their fundamentals that gives them a smoother transition into the NBA. And I always truly believe this when you dominate in the college level, I mean, dominate like you're all league, you're all American, you make your tournament run, you've been the captain of your team, the team's leading scorer, their defensive player of the year. When you have those accolades, and you come into the NBA, I think you know more of who you are, and it's easier for you to adapt. It's easier for a coach to pencil you in. It's easier for you to figure yourself out in proximity to everyone else because you know who you are and what you can go to. Young players who haven't proven anything, those are the ones that I'm most scared of. They kind of come in as this blank sheet, all right? And most of them just end up, honestly, if I'm honest with you, most young players who come in to the NBA without having proven something in terms of their accolades, production, etc. in college generally just end up being hustle defensive specialists. For real. That's where most of them end up. Whether you're looking at someone like a James Wiseman, or you're looking at someone like a I don't know, Derek Lively. You look at someone like a Cam Reddish. You look at someone even like a Cam Whitmore, right? You look at some of these guys who may have had mad talent coming into college, but because they didn't have a chance to prove themselves and really define who they are, when they come to the NBA, they're just like play a role. And usually that role is as a utility hustle guy. Play hard, play defense, do the little things, um, scrap, get us extra possessions, score here and where you can around players who are more solidified. I think that usually ends up what happens. Um, yeah, so it's a big. It was big for me to see Zach Edey take his time to develop uh, at Purdue, um, expanding his game, expanding his shooting range, his touch, his finishing ability, his defense. He just put so many things together that I think he's going to have a very successful outlook. I expect a big jump for him next season. So that's kind of like where I'm most excited about. But I also really appreciate not just that John Morant's going to be back, but I love the Contavious Caldwell Pope trade. Putting next to him a legitimate veteran 3 and D guy. Look, I love Desmond Bain for what he was. But when you have a backcourt of two bad defenders, it's just a bad look. It's CJ McCollum, Damian Lillard all over again. You're going to be really limited in terms of what you can do because you can't contain on the perimeter. And that constantly puts your defense uh, in a chokehold where they're constantly scrambling. Um, so unless you could just outscore constantly, it just becomes really hard to win, especially in the playoffs. I think KCP next to John Morant is going to have a great effect on him, not just on the court, but also in terms of just being mature. I thought that that was one of the biggest things that Memphis uh, made a wrong turn on is that they allowed their veterans who kept that team closely knit, guys like Kyle Anderson, allowed them to be traded for, unsigned, lost in free agency, etc. And then all of a sudden, you just have a team full of young guys where John Morant becomes your veteran, and that's not a good look for this team. It's not. But I think him and Kentavious Caldwell Pope is going to be a great 1-2 punch. That I think they're going to have great chemistry. I think they're going to have really good chemistry. Yeah, they got mad depth. I know this is random, but I remember 23, 24. Jaren Jackson Jr. said how the 23, 24 Grizzlies would beat the grit and grind Grizzlies. I think bro tripping respectfully. Yeah, I mean, what else are you supposed to say? Are you supposed to believe in yourself? Jaren Jackson Jr. back then would have been what 23 years old. Did he really even watch the grit and grind generation? Did he understand the game well enough? What Marc Gasol and Zebo were doing back then with Mike Conley and Tony Allen, Tayshaun Prince. I don't think he understood what they were doing, how that team was able to be so successful. But I think he's learning it now through these ebbs and flows and ups and downs. Like, man, there's something to that consistency, something to that style of play. There's something to what it takes to win and create your own identity. Because that was really what was special about them is that they had their own identity. That the league they knew when they played the Grizzlies, they had to adapt to what they were going to do. Yeah, you could try to run up and down all you want. We're going to destroy you on the boards. So you really ain't running anywhere. You're going to have to adapt to be able to beat them. And with Tony Allen and Mike Conley in that defensive backcourt, man, that was just special. That was just special. Some other aspects that I like on this team, I like Brandon Clark. I like him a lot. I love the Cedric Howard pickup. I think he's got real talent. I think they let him take this year to really get his body right. Maybe spend some time in the G League. It's gonna be tough for him to break this rotation, especially when they got guys like Jalen Wells coming back, who was in the running for a Rookie of the Year. They also have Gigi Jackson, who's going to be healthy. They're going to have Vince Williams, who's right there looking to get more playing times. Scottie Pippen Jr., John Conchar, KCP, Morant. It's just pretty heavily stacked. Oh, and they picked up Ty Jerome. So this team, if I'm honest with you, you know, is not going to have a lot of room for the young guys that they just drafted. But that's actually, I think, a good thing. That's a good thing. You don't want high turnover within your rotation. You want guys who get acclimated to one another, who build that chemistry, who are able to show up consistently and play a similar style and cultural way of playing. And I think the firing of their coach last season, even though it seemed like the timing was rough, I think there's a clear message that, hey, we're trying to win, and this is what it takes to win. I was wishing for the Pistons to acquire Aldama. Yeah, no, I think a lot of us were. I like Santi as well. I liked him a lot. I think he could still be available though, if I'm honest with you. Um, a lot of what these teams are doing today is that they will re-sign a guy that they know that they may not have minutes for, or even a part of their long-term plans, but they'll re-sign them to retain the asset, and then they'll flip them and trade them later, either for draft picks, either for young, talented players, maybe a veteran who can fill in a specific role to make a playoff run. Maybe they'll trade him down the road for cap flexibility, combine it with a player's salary that nobody wants, right? And so you have the asset next to something that is less desirable, and so they'll take that on in order to get the asset, right? So that's how they're moving in today's NBA, right? Let me see. Let me see. Get some of these comments here. I mean, 100% goofy or not talking about the most important team in the West and in the entire NBA. The Jazz talk about that uh, for 10 seconds, if it's even possible. Yeah, I mean the Jazz need to fire Danny Ainge. I think what he's doing there is the laziest front office job you can do. It's lazy. It's easy to lose on purpose. That's not hard. You draft guys every year. What are they supposed to do? Tell you how to run the team? They're 19. You're in your 60s or 70s, bro. If you don't know how to build a winner, what are you doing here? Right? It's one thing for you to build a team, you not have good luck, guys get injured, things of that nature. Okay, cool. Stuff happens. All right, but you're putting it together. What Danny Ainge is doing in Utah is just sitting back collecting a check, right? It's no different than probably what Monty Williams did in Detroit. It's just a terrible job. And that's probably the most I want to say about Utah. I am appreciative that the players, um, yeah, gotta blame Jazz ownership started. But then why does the NBA still have a team in Utah? Answer me that. That to me is a bigger issue. There's absolutely no reason to be in Utah. There's no reason. Nobody wants to play in Utah, bro. Nobody wants to play. Look, all the places. Nobody wants to play in Utah. Can you name 6 Jazz players at the top of your head? Personally, I can't. I mean, I can only because I'm just a basketball fan, right? And so I know who's there, which is why I say to myself, there's no reason why you should be losing, right? If you had Kessler Edwards, if you had Laurie Markkinen, right? You had John Collins last year, and you had, the players that they had. Um, Taylor Hendricks, I like a lot still. I like I mean, Kyle Filipowski looks like he's going to become a player, that Kelly Olynyk level player. They still got the point guard from last year out of USC, who was a high rated um, kind of player coming out of high school. I think he's pretty talented. They have what's my man out of LSU? Some of the names are just, I don't know if it's even worth remembering. Let me just go with oh yeah, Keontae George out of not LSU. Was it LSU? No, Baylor. Baylor. But say, Keontae George, Bryce Sensible, I don't really like him. Isaiah Collier, that's the point guy I was talking about out of USC. I like him. Ace Bailey, but who knows what they're really doing there. They're really directionless because at the top, they're directionless. I'm glad they let Colin Sexton go. Let him go and win somewhere. KJ Martin, I feel bad for him because he's such a dog and he loves to compete to win. He's on a team that just sucks and doesn't care to win. So I think that's a terrible position to be in. But the guys are still trying to get better there. and hopefully they bring in somebody who wants to win. Yeah, the top picks don't want to play for them, and that's real. That's real. Um, but yeah, back to Memphis. I really like what Memphis is doing there. Even though that they're still kind of waiting on John Morant. Hey, that's what you do. That's what you do. Similar to New Orleans, once you have a superstar talent, man, you just ride that shit out, bro. You ride that shit out. You know, you see what it's going to be in this era, in this rendition of this team, and you hope for the best. You hope for the best, right? You have Joel Embiid, you hope for the best, right? You have a Giannis, you hope for the best, and you make the most of it. Because when that player is gone, right? When that player is gone, like Trey Young, Stephen Curry, LeBron, Luca, right? Anthony, when that generational talent is gone, it's gonna be a long time until you get someone else. It just is. But here's the thing that I've always said is that you don't need a superstar level talent to win. To win. And when I say win, I mean you can consistently win 30 to 40 plus games every year just by having a well constructed team that's well coached, have a strong culture and buy in. Now, I know it might seem like, man, that really sucks because then you're just kind of like in this turnstile, almost like I mean, I would say a Miami Heat, but the Miami Heat, they had Jimmy Butler, right? And I don't think he's a superstar, but he was able to raise his game in the playoffs to play at almost a superstar level, right? I think once you have your culture and your team, your veterans, right, your cap flexibility, that's where you utilize the draft. That's where you look to pick up a guy that has a high ceiling. That's where you go after your Trey Johnsons. It's where you go after your Jeremiah Fears. It's where you go after the guy who could potentially take your team over the top and maybe develop into a superstar. Or maybe you trade for him. Maybe you have cap flexibility and assets and you trade for him. All this to say is there's no excuse for losing consistently. So what I see from Memphis is a team that understands where they're at. They got John Morant. All right, we've got to build around you. You've got John Jaren. And what's his name? Just happened to be the odd man out. You know, uh, he's a shooter. He's far more replaceable, right? What's his name? I just said his name for the Orlando Magic now. Yeah, Desmond Bain. He was just the odd man out of that big three. And the reality was he's the most replaceable. It's hard to replace 6'10, 6'11, 7'4 wingspan, defensive player of the year candidate, or an all perennial all-star, superstar level talent that puts butts in the seat, and a John Morant. Desmond Bain was the odd man out. Traded him. They brought in some cap flexibility, some veteran leadership, guys who've been to the mountaintop and won before with the Lakers and with the Denver Nuggets and KCP. And I think that they're going to be right back. If they have a healthy year with Ja and Jaron and Edie, if they have a healthy year, this could be a top 4 or 5 seed team. Who else you want me to talk about in the West, though? What's my over under for the Grizzlies win total? Ooh, I would have to say 48 wins comes to mind. 48 wins if they're healthy, knock on wood, right? If they're not healthy, I think they float somewhere around 42, 43 wins, somewhere in that realm. But I think that the difference between a top 4 seeded team in the Western Conference and the 10th seeded team could be less than 3 to 4 games. So you can be a 48 win team and be the 7th seed in this Western Conference, right? Ooh, those T-Rex arms are the reason the Grizzlies traded Bane. That's tough. Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. Frank Nitty was good, man. Talk about the Rockets. I'm glad you brought that up. What's their starting five going to be? What's their starting five going to be? Because if I'm honest, when I look at the Rockets, yeah, I'm about to talk about it right now. When I look at the Rockets, I'm expecting a big year from Jabari Smith Jr. I just am. I am. And Amin Thompson and Fred VanVleet. I think that those 3 have so much potential. If I almost said Jaren Jackson Jr. If Jabari Smith Jr., if he has the jump that I think he's gonna make offensively, and he finds his shooting rhythm that he had back at Auburn, which I think is more in the realm of him to do than people are giving him credit for or even projecting for him, I think he could end up being an all-star level talent. If I'm honest, I think he could become better than Alperen Şengün. You got, let me see who you got. Fred, Amin, Ethan. Who's Ethan? I don't know if it was written down right. But more than likely, I think it's probably gonna be Amin Thompson, Fred VanVleet, Kevin Durant, Alperen Şengün. And likely, it's hard not to roll with Jabari Smith Jr. I think his shooting opens things up all the more for Alperen Şengün and Amin Thompson. Um, I think with those 3 shooters of KD, Jabari, and Fred, I think you're gonna have enough spacing. I think it's gonna be hard for them to put, um oh, you meant Eason? Yeah, I think it's gonna be hard for them to put Steven Adams out there. Even though I think he could hold it down defensively, I think that lineup worked against the Warriors, the Golden State Warriors, because the Golden State Warriors were so small. They were able to go with more defense. But that's not an 82 game season lineup. It's just not. So I would probably have to say Jabari Smith Jr. ends up being in that starting lineup. But considering that the fact that they grabbed Steven Adams and Clint Capella, 2 albeit pretty injury prone centers, I think it's still kind of a nice way, and it's also a cool homecoming for Clint Capella, right? That's where he had his best years. He has roots and ties there. Um, Great second and third string uh, kind of center to bring in to make sure you have plenty of depth. But I think when I look at this roster, I think it has a whole lot of depth and talent. If I'm honest with you, I also think what's his name, Aaron Holiday. Aaron Holiday, I think, man, he just keeps hooping, bro. He just keeps it. Look, they brought in Reed Shepherd. We thought he was going to be somebody, and Aaron Holiday was like, "Yeah, let's see." Because hooping in the G League, hooping in college is not like hooping in the pros at all, at all. And Reed Shepherd is finding that out. I don't know if Reed Shepherd is going to be anywhere near the rotation this year. You don't think KD can handle 82 games in 4 rounds? I don't think that they're going to ask him to. I don't think they're going to ask him to. I think KD probably plays somewhere around 30 to 32 minutes a game. I think he feasts off of Amin Thompson and Alperen Şengün. Um, I think he's a huge upgrade over Jalen Green. Addition by subtraction, being able to move on from Jalen Green, which I told y'all. Remember, I told y'all when Amin Thompson got there, I said he's the Jalen Green replacement. He was going to be the Jalen Green replacement. The talent that they were able to now build around and say, this young guy is going to be our guy. Um, yeah, I don't think Reed Shepherd is really going to do too much this year. I don't know how much of an opportunity he's going to get. I don't think he defends well enough to earn head coach Amu Doka's trust to get those minutes over Amin Thompson and Fred VanVleet and even Aaron Holiday. Then when I look at some of these other guys who can also handle the ball, you can put the ball in their hands. Jayshawn Tate, another guy. Um, and then you just also have a lot of front court depth, which doesn't necessarily allow you to maybe stretch guys who are forwards into the front court instead of small forward. Now they're playing power forward. Or maybe you could be a shooting guard. Now you're at small forward like a Amin Thompson. I think the guys who are guards are going to be heavily entrenched at guard. Then they need to bring in Quentin Grimes. Yo, hey, I've been saying Quentin Grimes would be great in Houston. Would be great in Houston. Um, I think he would bring a dynamic to this roster that I don't think that they have. I could see him in closing lineups for this roster, if I'm honest. He would be a great pickup. The Rockets are giving Reed Shepherd minutes because of his magnificent mustache. You know, Ime Udoka don't care about that shit, man. Ime don't care about that, man. He don't care about that at all, bro. He's like, he just wants dogs out there, bro. He wants guys who compete. And I think that they have a team full of those guys. I'm not quite sure with the Tari Eason, Dorian Finney Smith overlap, though I do think that it allows this team. Don't be shocked if Tari Eason is moved at some point. As much as I love Tari Eason, I don't think they can afford his value on the open market. They already paid for Jabari. Um, it just brought in Kev, extended him. Amen Thompson is going to be expensive. They just extended Fred, Jay Sean. They got a Koji in there. They've got a lot of talent. And then bring in Dorian Finney Smith, who's kind of a more refined version of what Tari Eason does. I can see them packaging. I can see them taking Tari Eason, sign and trade next offseason with a Reed Shepherd and going out and getting another player, someone who can help them win a championship. Because I think that's where they are right now. They're like, we're in our championship window. And as Amen Thompson continues to emerge and develop, more and more they're going to be like, yep, that's where we're at. And so some of these other guys are going to fall to the wayside. Um, what's his name? Who just left to Cam Whitmore, who just went to Washington. I think Cam Whitmore, he was one of the first victims of being in a winning window, a championship window. Now Jalen Green, I think they're going to continue to kind of weed away. If you're not a two-way guy, if you're not a guy who can help them win outside of scoring, if you're not at the right price, they're going to whittle away. All right. What other thoughts you guys have about the Rockets, or give me the next team you want me to talk about in the Western Conference? There's a few others that are really interesting. Um, one that I'll throw out there is like the Los Angeles Lakers. Uh, I think that they had a solid offseason. It's hard to bet against LeBron and Luca, man. They're going to get to the playoffs just with those two alone. And I think that DeAndre Ayton, man, if DeAndre Ayton plays 65 to 70 plus games, man, this is a top 5 seed. Like his presence, look, don't underestimate the value of knowing, having confidence that you're going to have a chance to win. That alone elevates the play of a lot of guys in this league, man. The NBA, these seasons are long, bro. If you don't believe in your team and the direction your organization is heading in, it's hard to get up for these games, man. It's hard. You just listen to the interviews, you observe, you watch guys play. When you get to a winning situation, things tend to kick in a little bit more. And I don't think he's so far removed from his Phoenix days that he doesn't remember that mindset of having championship or bust expectations. That mindset of having something to prove. Portland, he had nothing to prove. Um, now that he's in LA on the Lakers with LeBron and Luca, I think he's got something to prove. I think he's gonna have a really, really good year. Really good year. He's gonna feast just off of LeBron and Luca alone. He's got incredibly soft hands, great touch around the rim. He can pick and pop and shoot. I think they should have a field day with what they can do with his type of a talent. And I think he gets highly involved in the offense, whether it's Austin Reeves, whether it's Luca, LeBron. I think everyone is going to be setting him up and making this game easier for them now that they have his level of talent on the interior. Don't be shocked if DeAndre Ayton doesn't put together an all-star level season. Just saying. Just saying. Let me see. In the starting center, so either 82 wins or 0 and 82. There's no in between. I'd probably say it's closer to 82 wins, but yeah, that's a lot. Um, Let me see. If they limit his role and treat him as a role player that he is now, then he could be super effective. Play defense, get rebounds, catch lobs, and that's really it on the court, at least. I mean, he also has a little pick and pop game. You can give it to him in the short roll. He can turn and face up, shoot over the top. Aiden is actually really talented. He's really talented. I just thought that going to Phoenix under Monty Williams was just like I think Monty stunted Aiden's growth. I think, yes, it's good to get him to buy into being a defensive player, but they should have unleashed him offensively. Should have said, look, take 15 to 20 shots a game as a rookie. Let's normalize this. Similar to how Minnesota did with Carl Anthony Towns. Um, Luka's on a mission will be a front runner for MVP. Well, it's about damn time. You got the Lakers going to West Conference Finals. I would not be shocked. I would not be shocked. Lakers have no defense. I think they do. I think they do. I think Austin Reeves is admirable in terms of effort. I think LeBron is gonna do his best. He's gonna do his best to kinda, like, chip in here and there. I think we're gonna see DeAndre Ayton be that anchor again as he was in Phoenix. Because remember in Phoenix, yeah, Chris Paul, Devin Booker, um, what's his name? Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, right? Like, he didn't exactly have all world defenders around him, especially in the backcourt. But he had guys who gave consistent effort. I like Mikal Bridges, but you wouldn't confuse him as a lockdown perimeter defender. But with Aiton behind them, his ability to cover so much ground and move his feet, uh, he just did a phenomenal job and allowed them to have one of the best defenses in the NBA. I think he's going to do a similar job with the Lakers. I mean, I like guys on that team who also play good defense. I do believe in Bronny still. I don't know if y'all believe in Bronny. Still a Bronny believer. I just think he was built all along far more for the NBA than he was for college. And where he's going to grow and thrive is in playing winning basketball in those types of situations, right? Almost like a poor man's Alonzo Ball or an Aaron Holiday type. These guys will just help you to win. And I think that that's where Bronny is going to really thrive. Um, yeah, I like Christian Koloko, who's with the Toronto Raptors. Shout out to the Raptors. I like Jake LaRavia off the bench. They got a whole lot of forwards here. Marcus Smart is a solid pickup. Uh, Rui Hachimura is still there. Jared Vanderbilt, which is a big kind of the reason why they let go of Dorian Finney-Smith because they just have a glutton of forwards. It was what it was. Max Kleber is still there. Gabe Vincent, I like him as well. Dalton Connect, like they've got a 10-man rotation. They've got a 10-man rotation. And I think built around their superstar level talents, it kind of raises all ships on that team. Everyone's going to look a little bit better. The game's going to be a little bit easier because of Luca and LeBron. And so I expect Austin Reeves, DeAndre Ayton to eat. I wouldn't be shocked if Gabe Vincent doesn't round out that starting lineup. You got Luca and LeBron at your forward positions. And then you have Austin Reeves and then likely Gabe Vincent. Or they could put Jared Vanderbilt there as well. He's great on the perimeter as well. But we'll see. We'll see. Let me see. Who else y'all want me to talk about in the Western Conference? What do y'all think of the Clippers? What do you guys think of the Clippers? Look, I get it. They're old as hell. But they're also deep as hell. They're also deep as hell. Like for real. Like you got Kawhi Leonard, of course, James Harden. But then you also have to round out that starting lineup, Ivica Zubac. At the 4, don't be shocked if John Collins isn't starting at the 4. And then you have Bradley Beal. That's your starting 5, bro. I think Bradley Beal buys into the defense. If not, you still got guys like Chris Dunn coming off the bench, Derrick Jones Jr. Bogdan Bogdanovic, big fan of his. Young Kobe Brown and Cam Christie, who've been itching for opportunities. You still got Nicholas Batum over there. You got Brooke Lopez coming in behind Ivaka Zubac. And then you still have Chris Paul, right, who can get you those, 10 to 14 minutes, which is brilliantly executed offense. And things are just flowing and going. When I look at this team, and I definitely was high on Kobe Sanders coming in out of Nevada, 6'8", kind of point forward type of player who could get his own bucket and post up a little bit. I just think that this team has, on top of probably having the best coach in the NBA, I think they're going to be able to beat you just by having waves and waves of talent and guys who just execute. One of the funniest basketball stories I probably ever tell about hooping back in the day when I was young was when me and my partners, we just had a nice little crew of guys who played in high school together, played some college ball, did some international stuff, and we used to just hoop. We used to just hoop, and we'd go to the same parks all the time, uh, and just ball out. And so we went to this one park. I think it was in like Willow Glen. It's like this predominantly white neighborhood type of deal. It's kind of this park in the cuts, but it was nice for the summertime because they had a lot of shade. So it's like when it was hot, once you were off the court, you had like plenty of shade. It'd be 10 degrees cooler. It was a great park to hoop at. I forget the name of the park. It was in San Jose, where Aaron Gordon is from. But it's to say, we get there, we see these guys that are on. We call next. We're down a couple games. We're sitting there waiting, watching, stretching. It's finally our turn to get out there, and we're like, all right, let's do this. Let's go. Team we're going up against is a team full of old heads. Old heads. Yeah, I'm kinda unk these days, bro. I'm kinda unk these days, bro. But it's these old heads, though. These are old heads, bro. They must have been easily all of them in their 40s, late 30s at least. Um, they had some size. Dude was like 6'6", 6'4", 6'2", and for a pickup game at a street ball court, that's a pretty good sized team. But they knew how to play. And man, when I tell you they worked us so bad, bro. They was hitting us with every backdoor cut, every pick and roll action, pick pop, swing, dump down, found the mismatch, simple play, kick out. Man, read and react before read and react was even a thing. They were just doing all these smart, heady moves. And then finally, when we get like a fast break, then they would like reach in and kind of foul us a little bit, knock the ball out, like just do the little smart things that never let you get momentum, never let you get into the game. And you take one or two bad shots and they're up by 3, 4 points, right? You get a little frustrated, you force it here and there. Next thing you know, you're down by 4 or 5, right? I think we lost that game probably like, I want to say like 15 to like, I think we got to 9. I think we got to 9. We didn't pass into the double digits, but it might have been 7. And they just hit these timely twos, you know, guy cherry picks a couple times after a bad shot, immediately look up court, hit the guy cherry picking for an easy layup. And we were just like, what the hell just happened, bro? Yo, yeah, and that old man strength. Man, they out there posting you up, man. They got that I don't raise 3 kids strength. You know what I mean? Like they just back you down and a little jump hook. You ever had an old school dude hit you with a jump hook, bro? And the type of like Boris Diaw jump hook where it's like they don't even really extend it. They just kind of like, right there. Just a little and just let that thing go as you get bounced back. And they just, you don't even have a chance to block it. And it's just like nothing but net. Shoot, even worse, to make it hit the backboard, bank in. You like, man, what the hell is going on, bro? We lost that game so bad. We were showing our feelings. These old school cats came over. He was like, man, it was a good game, man. It was a good game. Like, I tell you what, man. I tell you what, we feel bad. We about to have a barbecue over here. Y'all can come and get you something to eat. He said, we don't want no hard feelings. This is the coldest thing they told me. We don't want no hard feelings. We beat you, but then we feed you. We beat you, and then we feed you. Just like Your parents do when you were a little kid. And I was so upset because they beat us and then they fed us some of the best barbecue we done had all summer. And we talk about that game all the time. It was hilarious. I think that's what the Clippers are going to do to the NBA. They're going to beat teams, and teams going to look at them and be like, what the hell is going on? Because they got so much veteran depth, bro. They have so much veteran depth of guys who are just good, know how to play. They have enough talent to they can keep up with just about anyone else you put out there. But they have so much veteran understanding of how to win and play the game. They don't need to exert a lot of energy, right? You don't need to play James Harden over 32 minutes or Kawhi over 30, 32 minutes, right? So you have a team that can continue to compete and win, whether it's with the starting five or the backup five. And even just you just look at this backup five, right? You got probably Chris Paul or Chris Dunn, Bogdanovich. At the three, you probably got Nicholas Batum. Backup four, might say Derek Jones. And then you got Brooke Lopez. Then behind them, you got young bucks. Guys like Christie. You got Sanders. You got Niedenhauser. I don't think he's going to play too much, but he's a good talent. NBA ready to an extent. I'd probably say that they go 12 deep of legitimate guys who could be a part of a rotation. And when you got the coaching of a Tyronn Lue, man, you're going to do things. Someone hit me with the ugly sky hook. I had to hit him with my you either win the game or the fight because I'm not finna go like hey, that's so real. Hey, sometimes you gotta give him that little jab in the ribs. You throw that hook shot up there again, man. But ah, get it- right there in the, you know, you gotta give it like, nah, not today, bro. Not today, bro. Yeah, beat you then fed you, man. I think that's what the yeah, it was tasty as hell, bro. Middle of summer, we was hungry too. Bro, we was hungry. And the worst part about it is when we lost, there was like three teams waiting. So we didn't even get a chance to get back on, bro, before they left. And they were just like, we're done. We won, 5, 6, 7 games. We're good. And it was like, man, by the time it was our turn to get back on, everybody was kind of done for the day. I was like, man, some bull. But then they fed us. And the food was fire. Food was fire. Yeah, man. Who else you want me to talk about in the Western Conference? Um, where you play college ball at? Over at San Jose City. San Jose City. Play for Coach Carr. Rest in peace. One of the most winningest coaches in California state history. Over 600 wins. Talk about the Nuggets. The Nuggets did work. Let me keep it a band with y'all. The Nuggets are back. The Nuggets are back. Let me see. Will be Heat. I think they're my favorites to win a chance to beat the OKC. Yeah, facts. The Nuggets are back. Let me look at this roster, man. The moves that they made this offseason, bro, so good. So good. Let's just get past the whole starting five of Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, Christian Brown. Potentially, who knows? Strother or Watson could be in that starting lineup. But maybe likely it's probably Cameron Johnson. So they got one of probably the better starting fives out there. I think their cohesiveness, the basketball IQ, is going to be off the charts. Love it. So more than likely, it's going to be Murray, Brown, Cam, Gordon, Jokic. That five can go toe to toe with anybody. In fact, no. That starting five is out there. You go toe to toe with them. Might be the best starting five in the NBA. Just saying. But then off the bench, this is what I like that they did. They brought back Bruce Brown. He was a huge part of that championship run. Huge part of that championship run off the bench. His ability to move with and without the ball, defend up and down the line, man, he brings him so much versatility, veteran leadership, and he's only 28 years old. You know he's got to be itching for that chance to prove himself. Not so much prove himself, but I would say to get back to winning. You know, he got bounced around a bit. Yeah, he's 6'4", right? But he plays like he's 6'9", bro. Plays like he's 6'9". Well, then they picked up the Pistons, Tim Hardaway Jr. It's kind of like shooting depth, but I don't think that Tim Hardaway Jr. surpasses Julian Strother on that pecking order. I still like Jalen Pickett and Hunter Tyson, who I think they like as well. Peyton Watson. They have kind of a young bench. Deron Holmes as well. Uh, it's a young bench, but it's an effective one. Zeke Naji. Yeah, it's a young bench, but an effective one. And I think when they mix and match coming in for that starting five, and they picked up Jonas Valanciunas, I almost forgot, man. I don't know why it's not listed here because I think they're probably still working out the contract details. Oh, yeah, it is. Here we go. Yeah, yeah, 10 mil for the next 2 seasons. Jonas Valanciunas is going to eat in this system, bro. For the Denver Nuggets, I think he's going to eat. He's going to have an amazing time in Denver. He's going to love it. He's going to love it. Absolutely love it. Uh, is the best team in the Nikola Jokic era, in my opinion. It's hard to say it's better than the team that won a championship because that team with Jeff Green, Bruce Brown, KCP, I forget the other guy off the bench that they had that was really big for them. But I think they had DeAndre Jordan back then, maybe. Um, yeah, I think that was just a spry team on paper. I think, yeah, I think this team definitely rivals it. I like Cam Johnson a little bit more than Michael Porter Jr. I don't think he has the same level of flamethrower at 6'10" that Mike Porter Jr. has, but I think he plays better off the ball and he plays better amongst a unit in terms of being able to move the ball. Um, yeah, no, Brown was no, but Brown is in that starting lineup, bro. Yeah. Oh, are you talking about the old team that won the championship? Yes. Bruce Brown was off the bench. He was a huge part of the bench. Christian Brown, spelled Braun, out of Kansas. I think he is going to do major things for this lineup, and just the moves that he's able to do in terms of defensive versatility. He's just bigger. He reminds me a lot of what's his name from OKC, uh, bald eagle dude. What's his name? Alex Caruso. He reminds me of a bigger, younger Alex Caruso. Uh, and I think he's going to have a lot of confidence after the way he was able to shoot the ball in the playoffs last year. I think Christian Brown's going to be huge for them. But I still like also Julian Strother um, and Peyton Watson. I think those two guys are going to be big time rotation players for them. Deron Holmes, they were really high on him before he tore his Achilles. I think it was in Summer League. He was like the first game of Summer League. But he was a dude who was known for being able to get a bucket. I think as the season goes on, he looks better and better and better. But Jonas Valanciunas is that insurance. Um, I think they're still high on Pickett and Hunter. I think both those guys are going to be really good for them. Uh, the first 3 minutes, yeah, straight up heartbreak. Yeah, yeah, man. That was heartbreaking for those for that dude to go down because he was coming off of a great college year. I think he averaged like 20 and 10 or something like that. He was just killing the game. He reminded me a lot of what's his name in Minnesota, Nas Reed. He reminded me a lot of a little bit taller Nas Reed. Very similar play style, ability to shoot from the outside, score on the inside, rebound effectively, defend on the interior. So I think Denver is one of those teams where it's like, look, If they get to the playoffs healthy, they have to be a favorite. They have to be a favorite. Um, but they will still have to go through OKC because OKC, after winning a championship, you can't really tell them nothing. And J Dub is only going to get better. Shea is still young. Chet is only going to get better. And after you win a championship, bro, there's less pressure, right? Your jump shots don't feel like you're trying to prove to everyone that you can shoot still. You just shoot it, right? And so when you look at that type of a team, I think there's a lot of similarities between them and Denver in terms of their system, style, continuity, buy-in, uh, and being able to revolve around a superstar talent. And so I think that Denver OKC is right there. I think they might be on a collision course for another Western Conference Finals. Well, not another West Conference, but a West Conference Final matchup. But you can't discount Minnesota. You can't discount the Lakers. Definitely not Houston. So it really will depend upon how you go into the playoffs, your level of health, and your matchups along the way. Because, like I said, you're still gonna have to go through Dallas, Memphis, the Clippers. Clippers. I think the Clippers took Denver to what, 7 games, 6, 7 games, right? The Clippers look good, and now you got Brooke Lopez behind what's his name, starting center for the Clippers, Zubac, behind Zubac. Yo, that team has all the size, all the length, all the depth that they could ever want. This team is built for one purpose only: to win a championship. I was almost gonna go Lord of the Rings on y'all, to destroy the world of men. Yeah, that was Twin Towers episode. Anyways, all that to say, uh, 7 games where we're blown out in game 7. Yeah, but that's also because James Harden folds in those moments. But it's all to say, I think they have the depth to get right back. And I think if the Clippers had faced, let's say, I don't know, Minnesota or someone else instead of Denver in the first round, we could see them having a path to the Western Conference Finals. Just saying. So the Clippers are definitely a team. Denver, Houston, we talked about them. Talked about the Lakers. Talked about Memphis. Didn't really talk about Minnesota too much. Y'all want to talk about Minnesota real quick? Just remember, we need to talk about the Warriors. Ah, we do. Oh, you just deleted, man. What was you saying about the Warriors? The Warriors are an interesting organization too. I don't know. Being in the Bay, man, is just tough. Because they're trying to compare with the Jazz, doing straight no moves like Rudy Gobert in the post. Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think they're doing no moves as much as they need to move on from Steve Kerr. Period. Period. They've been needed to move on from Steve Kerr. If the Golden State Warriors did not win that championship against Boston, Steve Kerr would have been gone. What's going on with Kuminga? Kuminga doesn't want to be there, which was overwhelmingly obvious. 4 years to fit him into a system. They could not, would not, decided not to create space for him. And Steve Kerr gave him the runaround, the BS about fitting in and playing within the system and being a team guy. He did all those things and was rewarded with DNPs. At this point, I think Kuminga said, I've already proven myself. Yeah, they handled the situation all wrong. Kuminga has proven himself. The way he balled out in the playoffs, he proved himself. There's nothing left to prove. He doesn't want to be on the Warriors. He doesn't trust Steve Kerr to feature him to get the most out of him. At this point, the Golden State Warriors need to cut their losses. Stop playing around with it. Cut your losses. Go out and get a valuable rotation guy and trade Kuminga. Trade him. Shoot, maybe send him to Philly, sign a trade, go and get Quentin Grimes. Right? I think Quentin Grimes could look great in that starting lineup. Probably a better option than Brandon Pajemski. He's good with the ball in his hands. off the ball shooter, right? Volume. I think he's better than Buddy Hield, especially being able to play on both ends and play make for others. Kind of gives you like a bigger DiVincenzo type of a vibe. Either way, they need to figure it out and move on because they're just looking worse and worse and worse. Gotta stay hydrated. Warriors playing. It depends. If they're healthy, meaning Jimmy and Steph, if those two are healthy, I think they get, to probably 45 plus wins. And in the playoffs, they'd be scary as hell. A Jimmy Steph combination. Draymond, I wouldn't be shocked if they moved on from Draymond if they could. But it's to say that I think that this is a team that's still looking at the playoffs. Still looking at the playoffs for sure. Anyone else you want me to talk about before we hop off this thing? Minnesota needs to replace Mike Conley. I don't know why they haven't done that yet. Um, yeah, yeah, no, Kerr. He's just yeah. Kerr is practically. I mean, I'm not going to call him as atrocious as a Monty Williams, but it's just to say I just think Kerr has always been a coach that has limitations, very clear, and it got overshadowed by Stephen Curry's greatness and the run of this team, and so they've been able to make do with him and his liabilities, and they've just kept it rolling. They kept it pushing. Um, that's a decision that the organization made. We talk about OKC. We don't have to say a lot, but we kind of do have to talk about the champs. Yeah, you're right, Sandro. You're right. You are right. When we be on next to talk about the East, I'm a Detroit Pistons fan. I missed your Asar Ivy video. Oh yeah, Frank Nitty. You know what? I'm gonna be on probably, if not tonight, maybe tomorrow morning. I'll talk about the Pistons. I still have this idea about Asar Thompson playing at the power forward position for us. It depends on if some measurements have come out about him being officially like 6'8". If he's somewhere closer to 6'9", with shoes type of deal, I think he could be our power forward of the future. Especially with the Ron Holland, who's at 6'8", slide in at small forward as well, and they're just going to get stronger, more mature, and I think that they'll be able to handle that forward position load. Um, but yeah, I'll be on probably within the next day to be able to talk about that. We should talk about OKC though. My man was right. He said they are the champs. We should talk about it. Look, the fact that they had the draft that they did, Dallas. I'll throw in a little bit of Dallas in there. Who saw Mikael Bridges getting 4 years, 150 million? Yeah, did not see that. Just under about 30 plus million, but he's also a trade chip. Um, it's a very movable contract. Shout out to the movable contracts. Uh, but they're also all in for a championship this year. So it is what it is. Um, OKC. How in the world they got Thomas Sorber in the draft is beyond me. Who let that happen? Should have been an intervention somewhere. They still have one of the best five-man rotations. Um, Dort, SGA, J Dub, Chet, Hardenstein. Man, that five is devastating. You bring Caruso off the bench with Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins, and then you got guys like Case and Wallace. And I think Thomas Sorber is going to be in that rotation along with a Jalen Williams, who actually showed he could shoot the ball. I like him. Topic is going to be a problem for OKC. I actually don't think Topic is going to get into the rotation too much, if I'm honest with you. If I'm honest. Look, Topic, I think he's going to be good, but he sat out a whole year. He hasn't exactly had an opportunity to gain his footing for the NBA. He was already going to have a learning curve coming from international play to the NBA. and then he sat out a whole year with Casey Wallace there and Isaiah Joe, Aaron Wiggins, Alex Caruso. How does he break that seal, right? How does he break that seal? Because this team's uh, foundation is defense. Is defense. I don't know if he'll be able to defend well enough. I think it'll take him time to get used to the speed of the NBA. I think he spends more time in the G League this year. Not to say he's not going to eventually be good. I just think that's where he spends a lot more of his time so that he can actually get reps. He can actually get running because G League is probably one of the best transitional spaces for the NBA because they play a very similar style as the NBA. I know of Topic, but what's your favorite NBA quotes? For me, it's Paul George this year. I'm gonna be on my bullshit. I have to bully. Not joking. He said that with a straight face. Yeah, I mean Paul George. He's at the end of his career. You can see it in his eyes. He's got his podcast. He's looking on to bigger, better, brighter things for the future. I mean, not necessarily bigger, but it's just like you're older. You got your kids, you got your family. He probably enjoys being at home more than ever. Um, PG is a talented player. I think when his contract is up, I think he retires. He's 35 years old. Uh, he'll either be 37 or 38 by the time that his contract is up, making 50 million a year. I think he retires. All the knee injuries, stuff like that. He's bounced around enough. I think he retires. So it is what it is. They got 3 more years. But I do like VJ Edgecombe. I think he's the reason why Quentin Grimes has not been re-signed yet. Because they're like, VJ needs playing time. And we still got Eric Gordon. And we brought back Kyle Lowry. And we still got what's his name from last year? Um, Jared McCain. You still got Tyrese Maxey. Kind of got a logjam at the guard position. What they really need is a backup center, though. Andre Drummond, I think he'll do his best for a year. Um, and they need to find somebody they could bring in behind him. Adem Bona is cool, but I think that they need to find maybe go out and get Toronto's Orich Kamshi. I think he has a lot of talent. But if I'm Philly, I'm looking for that guy who could be a diamond in the rough, someone who could potentially um, develop on your G League team and might break through. That's what I'm looking for if I'm Philly. Um, I might have personally drafted Kamen Malawach if I was Philly. Though I think it would have been a lot of pressure on him to replace Joel Embiid. Just saying. Uh, but VJ Edgecombe looks like the truth. He looks like the truth. But yeah, let me see. I think I'm gonna get out of here. Maybe Spurs. Did we talk about the Spurs? We didn't really talk about the Spurs, man. Uh, Wimby is Wimby. Dylan Harper, man, that's a tough situation, man. You still got Stephon Castle, who's bigger than I thought. Had to relent on a point somebody made that he could play small forward, which means that with Devin Vassell and De'Aaron Fox, Dylan Harper is definitely coming off that bench. Jeremy Sohan is still there. Victor Wembanyama, who got cleared for play. I just think San Antonio is going to be good, but they still have a few more pieces to bring together. I don't know. I think they'll be playing good. I don't know if they'll be playoffs good. Unless they have a healthy year, like that's one of the greatest predictors of if someone is going to have a really successful year is the overall health of the team. Still got Harrison Barnes, Kelly Olynyk, underrated pickup. Luke Cornett, another underrated pickup. So they're really solidifying that front court out there. And then you got Julian Champagny, Carter Bryant. I think those guys are great, kind of swing 3-and-D forwards, knock down shots. David Jones Garcia looked actually really good in summer league. Lindy Waters was a great pickup for them as well. I think that they have a really good team. They have a really solid team, and I think along with Keldon Johnson, right? Uh, if they are healthy, man, they can give anyone as much headache as anyone else. Um, PG's agent, the real MVP. Yeah, I mean, he's just a talent that you have to respect, and he's gonna get the money. Um, Philly needs to move on from Embiid. I just don't think anyone is gonna take him unless you're gonna give that team 2, 3 draft picks because they don't want that contract. Either way, I think I'm gonna get out of here, y'all. This was fun. Um, yeah, the West is just crazy work, bro. It's crazy work. Let me know in the comment section after I post this video what you want me to talk about as a topic for the next video, either tonight or tomorrow morning. The best idea, I'm probably going to run with it because it's the off season. It's definitely the dog days of the off season. The trades, the free agents, acquisitions, summer league. We're getting ready for training camp. I'm start looking into Rico Hines runs and stuff like that because I would love to see who shows up for that. That's always really cool too. Sandro, glad you can make it. Glad you can make it, my man. I'm holler at y'all next time. It's your man, 100 Grand Ross for The Rock Never Stops. And I'm tapping out. I'm holler at y'all. Peace.